Good evening, everyone. The September 12, 2017 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer? Here. Mr. Ansello?
Here.
Mr. Baroth?
Here.
Ms. Boyce?
Here.
Mr. Brew?
Here.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Carbone?
Here.
Mrs. Conley? President Daniele?
Here.
Mr. Delahanty?
Here.
Mrs. DeFlorio?
Here.
Mrs. Draw?
Here.
Mr. Felder's excused. Mr. Flagler Mitchell's excused. Ms. Harris? Mr. Hebert?
Here.
Mr. Howland?
Here.
Ms. Cayley?
Here.
Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. Marionetti?
Here.
Mr. Michike?
Here.
Mr. Morelli?
Here.
Mr. Moyo?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Mr. Shepard is excused. Ms. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Terp?
Here.
Mr. Wilcox?
Here.
Mr. Zale?
Please remain seated. I'd like to introduce Pastor Darrell Givens of Mount Carmel Church of God in Christ, who has been invited this evening by Legislator Tanya Conley. Pastor?
Thank you so much. It is an honor and a delight to be here with all of you tonight. And I want to bring you greetings from the Mount Carmel Church of God in Christ, which is located at 14 Weld Street in the city of Rochester. Our senior pastor also sends his regards, Superintendent C.B. McLeod. I meditated for a while about what I would say to all of you tonight, and the Lord gave me Psalms 15. I'm going to offer the Psalms up as a invocation for you tonight, for a prayer and for also something to meditate on. And this psalm was written by King David during his time that he ruled back in the Old Testament. And Psalms 15 deals with character, it deals with leadership, it deals with things that King David was very concerned about when his leaders went into the tabernacle. And the tabernacle was just a holy place that the people met with God. So he was concerned about that, and he wanted his leaders to meditate on these words. Psalms 15. Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? The one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to a neighbor, and casts no slurs on others, who despises a vile person, but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts, and does not change their mind, who lends money to the poor without interest, who does not accept a bribe against the innocent. Whoever does these things will never be shaken. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word. May he bless this assembly, and God bless America.
Please stand as Legislator Tina Brown will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Brown.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I ask that you remain standing. Without objection, we will take agenda item number 18 out of regular agenda order. Agenda item number 18 is moved by Legislator Marionetti, seconded by Legislator Cayley. Will the clerk please read the resolution in memoriam for Lauren Morelli, sister of Monroe County Legislator Joseph Morelli, Jr., and daughter of New York State Assembly Majority Leader and former Monroe County Legislator Joseph Morelli, Sr.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Lauren Morelli, sister of Monroe County Legislator Joseph Morelli Jr. and daughter of New York State Assembly Majority Leader and former Monroe County Legislator Joseph Morelli Sr. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deep sympathy at the recent passing of Lauren Morelli, sister of Monroe County Legislator Joseph Morelli Jr. and daughter of New York State Assembly Majority Leader and former Monroe County Legislator Joseph Morelli Sr. And whereas Lauren passed away at age 31 on August 30th, 2017, after a long and heroic battle with breast cancer. Lauren and her family chronicled her courageous fight on a public Facebook page titled Lauren vs. Cancer. Through this page, her friends and family and many members of our community followed Lauren on her brave journey full of laughter and tears. And whereas professionally, Lauren first worked in marketing for the Finger Lakes Health Systems Agency. Then she became the marketing manager with the YMCA of Greater Rochester. And whereas Lauren brought joy to family, friends, and strangers every day, she had an unquestionable passion for life and made an impression on everyone she met. Lauren was a loving wife and mother who loved spending time with her family. She was known as someone who was willing to take care of those around her and never failed to make her loved ones smile. Even through this difficult battle, Lauren never stopped fighting and never gave up those special qualities that made her unique. Her infectious spirit and laughter were loved by all who knew her. And whereas she is survived by her beloved husband, Nate Stone, her children, Arabella and Jonas, her parents, Joe and Mary Beth, her brothers, Joseph and Nicholas, her grandmother, Juliet, her grandparents, George and Mary Bauer, her mother and father-in-law, Cheryl and Alan Stone, sister-in-law, Christina Dawson, and brother-in-law, Daniel Stone, many special aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and cousins. And whereas Lauren will be remembered for her kindness, humor, and courage, her impact on her loved ones and on this community is undeniable. She will be greatly missed by all who knew her, as well as those who followed her journey on Lauren versus Cancer. Be it further resolved that the Clerk of the Legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Please be seated. Legislators, your copy of the Journal of Day 9, August 8, 2017, is available on your tablet, and without exception, the journal will stand approved as submitted. There is a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic devices in your possession, I would request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on your tablet as well as online for public. This evening there are several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would Coach Dave Herbst and the Bishop Kearney Lady Kings varsity softball team please come forward? Also, County Executive Cheryl Donalfo, President Anthony J. Daniele, and Legislator Joe Carbone. Winning a state championship is the culmination of hard work, dedication, and perseverance. These three qualities were shown time and time again by the Bishop Kearney Lady Kings team, led by head coach Dave Herbst. The Lady Kings posted a record of 25-2 while being named the unanimous choice for the Class C Team of the Year. And whereas during their season, the Lady Kings had 22 straight victories and picked up key wins against sectional rivals, as well as many others, that landed them as the #1 seeded team heading into sectional play. They advanced to states with a hard-fought win against Caledonia Mumford in the Section 5 final. With a win over Portville and Dunkirk, the Kings found themselves playing in the state semifinal game against Sandy Creek. With their semifinal victory, the Lady Kings faced Pine Plains from Section 9 in the state championship game. With strong defensive play on the field and great offense at the plate, the Lady Kings were able to secure Bishop Kearney's first Class C softball state championship in school history. And whereas the Bishop Kearney Kings made Monroe County proud throughout their entire season, the Kings' hard work, commitment, and dedication to the game of softball was rewarded when they received the title of state champions. Success in athletics often translates to success later on in life because of the lessons learned on the field. Monroe County is proud to have such talented role models in our community. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, County Executive, Anthony J. Daniele, President, and Dr. Joe Carbone, Vice President, on behalf of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Bishop Kearney Lady Kings varsity softball team on winning the Class C state championship.
Thank you very much. It's truly an honor, and this never gets old. This is so great. I would like to recognize our pitching coach back there, Christy Phelan, as she's sitting back there, and she certainly directed our pitching staff in a great way. It was summed up pretty well, but I think what wasn't mentioned was the drive and the heart that these young kids overcame throughout the whole season. It was amazing. We came out of the blocks 3-2, and we had a closed-door meeting for a little bit to talk about what our plan was for the future. And 22 games later, we are now state champions. But to get from 3-2 to 25-2 took a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, and I just can't thank these girls enough for making it such a wonderful, wonderful season. I'm so proud to be part of this program. And they maintained strong ethics and strong character throughout the entire way. And we faced a lot of tough games. 8 of our last 10 games were one-run victories, several of which we had to come from behind. And that was really exciting. We're so proud to bring back a state title to Rochester. And we just can't thank the county legislators and our county exec, Cheryl, for everything you guys have, all your support and everything you've done for us. And I just want to say thank you so much. It's a real honor to be here. Spike.
First, I'd like to start off by thanking Cheryl Donalfo and the Monroe County legislators for having us here. Being a state champion means a lot to me, especially in the sport of softball. It was great to have a bunch of supportive teammates surrounding me, and we all pulled together no matter what the case has been. When we were called spunky, we're good but we're not kill mom good, or anything along those lines. It was just amazing to show everybody that we weren't overrated and we did belong there. And I would like to thank all my coaches for their support and the positivity that they made in our environment, and I hope we go back again. Thank you.
Good job.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Would the Heiligman family please come forward? Also, President Anthony J. Daniele, Legislator Debbie Draw, Legislator George Hebert, and Legislator Matt Terp. When tragedy strikes, we often find that a community can come forth as a powerful support system. After the heartbreaking loss of their son, Jack, Ann and A.J. Heiligman were able to find solace in the numerous acts of kindness by those in their community. The support given by their neighbors is what led Ann and AJ to start the Jack Foundation, named in memory of their son. And whereas the Jack Foundation stands for Just Acts of Caring and Kindness. The name was inspired by the many acts of kindness demonstrated to Ann and AJ by the entire community. Because of Jack's love for dinosaurs, the Jack Foundation's mission is to raise funds and construct dinosaur-themed playgrounds in honor of Jack's memory. In addition, they have the Jack Challenge, which encourages the community to complete small acts of kindness or paint their nails blue. And whereas on August 27, 2017, with help from the community, the first dinosaur-themed playground called Jack's Place opened at Rothfuss Park in the town of Penfield. Each brick on the path leading to the playground is engraved with the names of the community members who donated to the Jack Foundation. And whereas Monroe County is proud to be home to such supportive and caring individuals who look out for one another even in times of despair. The Jack Foundation serves as a great reminder to all of us that a small act of kindness to a neighbor can have a large impact on our community. Now therefore, we, Anthony J. Daniele, President, Debbie Draw, Legislator, District 9, George J. Hebert, Legislator, District 15, and Matthew Terp, Legislator, District 8, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Jack Foundation on the recent opening of Jack's Place in Rothfuss Park.
Good evening. AJ and I would like to thank County Executive Cheryl Donalfo and the entire Monroe County Legislature, especially Legislators Debbie Draw and George Hebert, for this recognition. This building is special for me. As a child, my dad, Jim Mully, brought me here many times on Take Your Daughter to Work Day, and I remember being quite impressed with this room. And like so many couples in Monroe County, 7 years ago, AJ and I took our wedding photos here. And now, today, we are honored to be recognized by this proclamation for the Jack Foundation. We're pleased to be here today because it gives us an opportunity to say thank you to the entire community. Last October 15th, every parent's worst nightmare became our reality. We lost our 3-year-old son, Jack. We were, we are, and we will always be devastated by his passing. Our family, friends, neighbors, and the community jumped in and helped. It began that day with compassionate and professional first responders, and it hasn't stopped. The many expressions of sympathy and support touched our hearts in ways you couldn't imagine. We started the Jack Foundation days after our son passed and have been overwhelmed by the support. There are 2 parts to Jack Foundation. The first, Just Acts of Caring and Kindness, an acronym for Jack. With this, we encouraged acts of kindness in Jack's memory. People donated blood to the Red Cross and provided food to the Center for Youth, Webster Community Chest, and Dimitri House. Books to the Friendship Nursery, Hillside Children's Center, and Daystar. Blankets to Golisano Children's Hospital, just to name a few. Every act of caring and kindness in Jack's name brought comfort to us. The second part of the Jack Foundation was to raise money to fund a playground designed with incorporating things Jack loved: dinosaurs, books, and the color blue. Penfield Supervisor Tony LaFountain and the Penfield Town Board embraced this project and suggested the perfect spot, Rothfuss Park in Penfield. Together, as a community, we raised over $175,000 and completed the 8,000 square foot playground, Jack's Place, in less than 10 months. The grand opening of Jack's Place was just over 2 weeks ago, and we are happy to say that it has been packed with smiling children and parents every day since. The playground will always be a place to remember Jack and will be enjoyed by the community for many years to come. Thank you for your continued support as we work towards building another playground in years to come. I will leave all of you with an act of kindness card. I'll leave them with the clerk. And I encourage you and I challenge all of you to complete an act of kindness in memory of Jack in the community or even with a colleague in this room. Thank you.
Would William Bolter please come forward? Also County Executive Cheryl Donalfo, President Anthony J. Daniele, and Legislator Matt Terp. Thomas W. Bolter founded Bolter Industrial Contractors in 1892, delivering coal and ice by horse-drawn wagon. Today, the Webster-based company is a local leader in industrial transportation industry and helps local companies move heavy machinery during relocation. They have assisted tool companies, the food industry, universities, and general contractors across our community. And whereas this year, Bolter Industrial Contractors celebrates their 125th anniversary, the company has been managed and owned by the Bolter family for 5 generations. William S. Bolter was named company president in 1996 and has built on the legacy left by his family before him. To this day, the company continues to offer a superior level of service here in Monroe County and throughout New York State. And whereas Bolter Industrial Contractors is truly a family business, employing 46 people, including 3 families who have worked for 3 generations each at the company. With a fleet of 2 cranes, 40 forklifts, 8 tractors, 15 trailers, and a 200-ton gantry, they serve many local businesses seeking to expand or relocate. The company offers services such as rigging, steel fabrication, trucking, product line installation, and more. And whereas Bolter Industrial Contractors should be celebrated for their lasting legacy of excellence in business, in addition to their many contributions to our community, we look forward to watching their future growth and offer our best wishes for many more years of continued success. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, County Executive, Anthony J. Daniele, President, and Matthew Terp, Legislator, District 8, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Bolter Industrial Contractors for their 125 years of doing business in our community.
On behalf of everyone at Bolter, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for a special recognition celebrating our 125th anniversary. As a 5th-generation owner employing almost 50 people, I strive to ensure that we are delivering on our promise with pride and enthusiasm every day to bring the best people, equipment, and technology to every job and to be the single-source solution for handling our clients' most valuable investments safely and securely. Bolter is a name that carries weight. It's a statement and responsibility to my customers and employees that I live out each day. I'm honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of our entire team. Thank you to each of the legislators for your support and recognition. Thanks again.
Would Dejania James please come forward? Also, President Anthony J. Daniele, Minority Leader Cynthia W. Cayley, Legislator John Lightfoot, Legislator Ernest Flagler Mitchell, and Legislator Lachey Harris. Whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor individuals and organizations that advocate on behalf of others, improve our community, and add to the quality of life in Monroe County. And whereas Ms. Dejania James, daughter of Shaquana Divers and AJ, has earned the prestigious title of the 2017 National American Miss New York State in August 2017. And whereas Ms. Dejania James will attend the national pageant to be held in Anaheim, California in November, representing the state of New York. And whereas Ms. James participates in many activities, including the Young Scientist Club, competitive dance, gymnastics, Girl Scouts, Student Council, Green Team Recycling Club, modeling, DIY projects, and volunteering. And whereas the National American Miss Pageants are for today's girl and tomorrow's leaders, emphasizing self-confidence, learning new skills, good attitudes, and setting and achieving personal goals. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Anthony J. Daniele, President, Cynthia W. Cayley, Minority Leader, Lachey Harris, Legislator, District 27, John Lightfoot, Assistant Minority Leader, and Ernest Flagler Mitchell, Assistant Minority Leader, on behalf of the Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize Dejania James on this 12th day of September 2017 for earning the title 2017 National American Miss New York.
Thank you.
We will now recess for the purpose of holding 2 public hearings this evening. I declare open the public hearing on local law intro number 316 of 2017 entitled Authorizing Lease by Negotiation with the United States Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation for use of space at the Monroe County Crime Lab located at 85 West Broad Street, room 113 in the city of Rochester, New York.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed and open the public hearing on local law intro number 319 of 2017 entitled Enacting the Local Law Authorizing Sale by Auction to Tony Y. Couric for surplus property located at 1285 East Henrietta Road in the town of Brighton, New York.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed and reconvene the September 12, 2017 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. Legislators, there are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum, and I know we have several people registered to address the legislature. Madam Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Yolanda Batista, Lexi Popovich, and Dr. Kiva Collier.
Hi, I hope some of you remember me from last month, and I hope all of you had a chance to look at that folder I gave you. It's really important. I'm here to advocate for funds, okay? Sorry, this is my grandson. My grandson was not born to be raped. He was not born to be burned with cigarettes. And he was not born to be given back by Child Protective Services to the person that did it. I lost because I have no money for an attorney. I was not a parent. I was not a father. I was a grandmother. So they wouldn't help me. I've been doing some research, and I'm going to give you one of these things where I know you already know about the Legal Service Corporation, where they only have a certain amount of funds. I think that it would be good for non-parents to get help to defend their children. I mean, this is my grandson. He may not be my son, but he's a human being. The other little girl that died, and they're having trial for her right now for the person who killed her. She was a human being. We need to give funds to the people that want to protect them. There are parents that should never have been parents. There are parents that are selling their children in the streets right now. I know of 2 of them right now. And their grandmothers can't get a hold of them. Their grandmothers can't get any kind of legal help because there aren't funds available. It's sad. I just want to say, please, remember, he represents a lot of other babies. They're being abused and they're being killed. I don't want to come back again and bring this picture here and for him to be dead. He's still alive.
I want to thank you guys for allowing me to speak. I will be talking about Tobacco 21. We have to begin to ask ourselves, what do we value? Is it love, family, health, happiness, money, status, faith, hard work, equality, freedom? As a community, our values are reflective of the policies we adhere to. So do we value health, safety, and wellness, or do we value adolescent smoking as a right and a benefit rather than a societal burden and addiction? The average age of a new smoker is 13 years old. Most youth under 18 identify social networks and circles as the most common source of tobacco products, and 90% of all smokers begin by the age of 18. The period between 18 and 21 years of age is the vast majority of where smokers switch from experimentation to addiction. With almost 60% of New York State's population covered by T21 ordinances, national research studies have shown that raising the sale age of tobacco from 18 to 21 removes this critical source of tobacco, thereby delaying and preventing accessibility, initiation, and lowering youth smoking rates. Tobacco use among young adults severely impacts brain development, while also leading to addiction that can cause serious disease and premature death. This will impact the 7,500 New York State youth that will become daily new smokers this year, and the 280,000 New York State youth that will die prematurely from smoking. There are over 7,000 e-cigarette flavors that are marketed to youth, with e-cigarette usage rates doubling in the past 2 years among New York State high school students. With 24% of Monroe County youth smoking either cigarettes, cigars, and or e-cigarettes, and 51% of those attempting to quit in the past month, it is imperative to begin to question how we value the health and wellness of our citizens and the adolescents who make up the future of our community. As young minds of today and leaders of tomorrow, we must value the safety and wellness of our children. The question remains essentially, what does Monroe County value? Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Joanne Sassa, David Topa, and Howard Laney.
First, thank you to those of you who serve with competence and integrity. Tonight, I ask especially this side of the aisle to consider at least these 2 de novo appointees for removal from office. Assistant County Executive Billy Napier, a career-long obstructionist, focuses more on his necktie collection than he does on good government. Jeff Adair literally procures for DeNolfo. In spite of gross ineptitude for the position, DeNolfo's economic director will soon give Indus, I-N-D-U-S, Indus, its 4th Comida tax break. Indus built 3 luxury, Adair-approved suburban hotels, one located less than a mile from a trailer home where a 9-year-old boy died trying to save his grandfather, and less than 2 miles from a powerful county legislator's Comida-backed marina project. DeNolfo promised us an honest, transparent government, but surrounded herself with entrenched, corrupt musclemen to do her extensive dirty work. I know these men can make or break your political careers, But I ask you anyway, on this anniversary of Bill Nojay's demise, to both individually and collectively reevaluate D'Onofrio's appointees and restore your important party to something we can all look up to. Thank you for your attention.
Good evening. Again, my name is David Topa. I'm a pediatrician at Pittsford Pediatrics, where I serve over 500 families in the eastern suburbs of Monroe County. And the last few times I've been up here, I've been pretty negative talking about the current state of kids' affairs. But I'm generally a positive person, so I'm going to keep it positive today. Got some good news. Number one, I will not make any of you read these studies I have here in my hand, all right? So Babe will go through all this paperwork over the last few weeks, and what I found is some more good news. In regards to our CPS crisis, in regards to children entering CPS system at increased rates over the past few years, we can stop it. There have been more than 20 studies that have studied nurse-family partnership programs, home visitation program that's been shown to not only be the morally right thing to do, trying to keep kids out of dangerous situations, reduce incidences of abuse and neglect, but also it's the fiscally sound thing to do. Last year, the 2017 budget for foster care placements went up by $1.7 million. It's a huge amount of money. I could get 300 more spots in the nurse-family partnership for that kind of money, but yet we're putting the cart in front of the horse here. We've got the system backwards. We're putting too much money into putting kids into foster care, not enough money in keeping them out of it. At that same time last year, we reduced funding for these preventive programs by $500,000. Once again, we're making it more likely these kids are going to end up in foster care, which is infinitely more expensive than putting them into foster care, or infinitely more expensive than putting them into the preventive services. So please, we're giving the opportunity here. We can do what we did 10 years ago and say, okay, we'll keep our taxes low and ignore the situation. Or we could sit here and look at ourselves and ask what kind of legacy we're going to leave for those legislators who are going to be here 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And also, in addition to doing the financially right thing to do, it's also the morally correct thing to do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Howard Lanny, and I'm a fourth-year medical student in Rochester. So, picnickers were enjoying lunch alongside the Genesee River when one of them saw a baby floating by. Heroically, she jumped in to save the baby, but as soon as she came to shore, two more floated by. Suddenly, the entire picnic was in the river, saving baby after baby. A passerby saw what was going on and started to run up the river. "Stop! Help! Where are you going?" the picnickers shouted. "I am going upstream to stop whoever is throwing all these babies into the river." This parable hits close to home with the current state of child welfare in Monroe County. With the number of reports of child maltreatment increasing by more than 20% in the past decade to over 10,000 per year, and caseloads at CPS woefully above the state standards, we have more and more babies in the river and not enough picnickers to save them all. While it is crucial to address this issue, we must also go after the root of the problem: how to prevent child maltreatment and neglect before it is too late. Fortunately, evidence-based, cost-effective solutions exist. Analysis funded by the Pew Center finds that the Nurse-Family Partnership reduces childhood maltreatment by 31%. Furthermore, it has been shown to lower the rates of youth criminal offenses and substance abuse. Enrolling 1,000 families in the Nurse-Family Partnership will lead to 240 fewer child maltreatment incidents, 350 fewer violent crimes, 2,300 fewer property and public order crimes. The same nonpartisan study finds that an investment of $1 in the nurse-family partnership provides $6.20 of benefit, much of which would be felt at the local level through less child abuse and safer communities. While this program exists in Monroe County, funding has been reduced over the past 5 years. The program is only reaching approximately 1/3 of eligible families and should be expanded to prevent further child mistreatment. The lives of children depend on it.
Our next speakers are Jim Vogel, Kelly Finnegan, Larry Marks, and Dr. Kiva Collier.
Good evening. Thank you for the time here to speak to you. I'm here for one specific reason, a pending problem that we have before all of us in this community. And I'm not talking about just the city of Rochester, I'm talking about our community, which is the county. I'm on the board of directors for the House of Mercy with Sister Grace Miller. We have just moved into a new shelter. We had a very successful capital campaign to create that. It was formerly the Seal Test Creamery down on Ormond Street. Ormond, as you may know, is parallel to Joseph on the east side of the railroad station. And first thing we want to do on behalf of Sister Grace is to invite all of you legislators who have not had a chance to come down, please come down, and we'd like to give you a tour of the new House of Mercy. It now has a capacity for 82 men and women in their own separate compartments for shelter in that private donation operation. The issue that we have before us, though, is the problem we're going to have this winter with when the cold weather comes is the capacity for the shelters in our community to be able to handle the need. As you know, Rochester itself is #1 in extreme poverty, especially when it comes to children. And it's frightening what is going on. Being a fellow veteran, I've been a witness to a number of our veterans, men and women, who never really psychologically came home from the wars. And we're dealing with a lot of that down there. Out of these 82 beds, I would tell you that on any given night, probably 70% to 75% are those suffering from a mental illness of some form or the other. They're either self-medicating, but these are people that are not sick enough to be in a hospital, but they're, not quite sick enough to be in a hospital, but they are still sick enough to where they cannot take care of themselves through the years. So these are the things we're dealing with. But I'm asking for your cooperation. If we can work with your 211 organization and your DHS to help find a workable solution to address the needs of all the homeless in our community. And that's why I'm here. Nothing more, nothing less. So we're not asking for your money or anything like that right now. We're just looking for cooperation so we can help DHS and 211, among others, help us to do a good job effectively meeting the needs of the homeless in our community. So Kelly is the Director of Operations for the House of Mercy, and he's a professional who's been at this for a number of years, and he can talk more succinctly about this.
I'm not sure about the professional part, but yeah, my name's Kelly Finnegan. I'm a social worker. I'm the Director of Operations at the House of Mercy. And, just to reiterate what Jim said, we opened up our new building at 285 Ormond Street just about 6 months ago. We have capacity for 82 adult men and women. The first night that we opened, we had 92 people on March 20th. About 2 weeks later, at the beginning of April, we had 149 people in the building, which was 67 over our capacity. Since that time, we've worked pretty closely with the county and with the state to try to bring those numbers down because we want to adhere to that capacity level of 82, which we've done a pretty good job at, but it's led to us turning away a lot of people on a nightly basis, which I think you all know is not easy for Sister Grace Miller or any of us at House of Mercy to do. We did over 5 weeks this summer, we did a study of, or tracked the number of calls we made to 211 Lifeline, and we made, along with St. Joe's House of Hospitality, we made 37 calls to 211, and 30 of those calls, they were unable to place people in shelters. So therefore, those people either have to stay at the House of Mercy or they have to go on the streets. So, it just brings up our concern about homelessness in our community. I think given our serious extreme poverty rate, the opioid thank you. It brings concern for the future, and are we going to be able to shelter all the people that need sheltering? So we are looking to work hand in hand with the county to try to come up with a solution before the winter. We've been a part of running 3 temporary shelters over the last 3 winters for a sanctuary village 3 winters ago, and then we formed REACH, which ran 2 shelters over the last 2 winters. So I feel we know how to run a temporary shelter, and we'd like to work hand in hand with the county to do so. That's it. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Larry Marks with the Children's Agenda, and here to talk a little bit about what we always talk about, which is what children need most and what works best. Whether we're talking about child care or talking about child abuse and neglect, we don't run any services, we don't take any government funding. All we focus on is pure advocacy for children. And we felt compelled today as the Erica Bell trial, and our hearts are breaking with what's going on a daily basis. We know that, and so we're here to talk about your upcoming decision-making for funding for CPS and for preventive programs that work. We have 10,000 cases of child abuse and neglect in this county. That's 27 a day. So that heartbreaking 3-year-old picture you saw, that's one of 10,000 CPS cases we're talking about. And again, there are things that we can do about it. The CPS caseload ratio right now is at about 29, according to the best evidence we have. And according to those studies that Dr. Dave Topa was holding in his hand, there's the best evidence shows that the ratio should be 12 to 1. Other communities have lowered their child abuse and neglect ratio, have lowered those cases, have prevented it through both funding things like evidence-based home visitation and child care, as well as increasing the supply of response. The more workers there are, the more time with each family, these are our first responders, the more those numbers can come down. And none of it's completely avoidable, but what if it's your grandchild or your child? That's something you want to avoid. So that's why we're here. You're coming into deciding what's going to go into your 2018 budget. So whether it's the zoo or whether it's a penny increase in a fee to help cover salary increases for CPS workers, to help cover some increased expenditures on child care and programs like the Nurse Family Partnership Program that'll bring those numbers down, that's what we need to do, and that's what we're asking you all to do. If there's some disagreement about the number of 12 to 1, we would love to hear it. We're fact-based. We don't believe in throwing around something that we don't feel confident in. But there is a gold standard that we need to come to. So the last thing I'll say is that the New York State Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council is putting $4.75 million more into this community for early childhood supports, thanks to our partnership with Monroe County. That's 150 more slots for NFP and for home visitation, 300 more child care subsidy slots in this county, thanks to 18 months of effort to get that work to happen. We need the county to step up too and be a good partner. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, we will recess the September 12th, 2017 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature and convene the Pure Waters Administration Board for the Gates, Chile, Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and the Rochester Pure Waters District. If there are no objections regarding referral 17-0238, we will adopt all 4 districts with 1 vote. The clerk will see to it that individual motion and resolution numbers are assigned to each district. The clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWAB agenda item numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, referrals 17-0238.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. We will now recess the Gates, Chile, Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and the Rochester Pure Waters District, and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The September 12, 2017 meeting of the Legislature is now reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda? Majority Leader Marianetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to make a motion that all remaining items be moved through one vote with the exception of items 19 and 20.
I have a motion on the floor to move items number 1 through item number 17. Moved by legislator Marianetti, seconded by legislator Cayley. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Items 1 through 17 carry. Next item.
Item number 19, referrals 17-0249.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Marianetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a couple questions on this item. The first question is a general one through you, Mr. President, to the airport director. And essentially, I was just wondering if we can get an explanation for the overall necessity or justification for this project in general.
Through the President, the state grant was a competition that was announced by the governor last year and was an outstanding opportunity to leverage $40 million that the state had finally put in the Department of Transportation budget for airports, which was unprecedented, and it was very exciting that the state finally decided to upgrade the airports. And again, it was a competition that we entered and that we had to win. So it's leveraging $40 million of state funding that was put into the budget by the Assembly and the Senate and that the governor proposed, and we won that money. And instead of having to, the authority having to issue new debt or to delay any other projects that might come about, leveraging the $40 million is a very exciting thing for the airport and unprecedented in New York State, and we won the competition.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, what we're talking about tonight is increased authorization. And I'm just wondering if you can give an explanation what the primary driver is behind that need for increased authorization.
The increased authorization required by the enabling statute that created the airport authority that the legislature approves all of the projects. It's Airport Enterprise Fund, through the President, I'm sorry. The funds come out of the airport authority's resources, and there's no obligation to Monroe County. The Enterprise Fund is self-funded. The airport's been that way since the authority was created in 1989. It's process, but it's not dollars. It's the budget authority that is necessary per the process that we've been doing for 30 years.
And through you, Mr. President, can you give us an idea of what specific components of the project are requiring this increased authorization?
Through the President, the increased authorization is going to bring us into the 21st century with security measures, and by that I mean the initial grant letter sent to me by Commissioner Driscoll on 27 May of 2016 said, build the 21st century airport. And what we did is we took that literally. We didn't build a parking garage or any infrastructure that is already existing at the airport. We have decided to invest in every form of technology, for example, in the terminal building, which is not part of this ask, but we are doing everything we can for the deaf and hard of hearing because our population, there's 5 to 6 times more deaf and hard of hearing people in Rochester than the national average. But with respect to this project, the security measures that we'll be able to implement will allow us to identify bad actors sooner if there are bad actors, and we propose to create an environment, basically extending the environment of indoors further outside, that will be able to capture images and even persons that were never able to be captured before. And by control the environment, what I mean is that the current camera system that we have is very good, but if you were at the airport during a windstorm like we had in March, or a snowstorm, or the rain, the cameras become obscured. The poles that the cameras are mounted on are not completely stable. They wobble back and forth. But with artificial intelligence now and the integration of technology with the cameras that we already have and can install and create an environment, and by create an environment I mean we will get rid of the glare that is currently on the road, and we have a lot of issues with cars parked on the road unattended, and the sheriffs do a great job, but that's a concern of ours. And then getting rid of the weather, as I described, snow and ice and rain do obscure cameras, so we're going to extend that capability out to the parking garage, and we will be able to identify the bad actors. It'll also help us during the benign environment kind of things where someone may have left a bag behind, but we still have to prosecute that bag normally as if it was, we have to treat it as if we don't know what it is. Therefore, sometimes we have to close the road, the terminal. It's happened 3 times in 2017 alone. It's happened many times in my tenure. And we could avoid those situations by identifying who dropped that bag and where it came from and reunite that bag or a child with wherever that came from. So it has, we're going to increase measures in the airport of security like no other airport.
Thank you for that. And through you, Mr. President, getting back to the funding, I know we've mentioned the authority. Are there any additional local taxpayer dollars that are going to be needed for this increased authorization?
Through the President, no local tax dollars go toward the enterprise fund of the airport. The airport authority is charged with running the airport and paying for the airport. There is no net contribution from Monroe County.
All right. Through you, Mr. President, I think you answered this, but so is it fair to say that currently there's no local tax dollars allocated towards this project now?
Through the President, that's correct.
Through you, Mr. President, a related question. The funds that we're talking about for the increased authorization, if they weren't used for this purpose, could they be reallocated to another county department or another county function?
Through the President, that's a federal regulation that's called revenue diversion, and we would lose our Part 139 commercial operating certificate if we diverted revenue to anything other than the airport. So no, we cannot.
Okay. And through you, Mr. President, does the airport, as of right now, I mean, is there any intention to increase any of the fees at the airport in order to cover this increased authorization that we're talking about tonight?
Through the President, no.
Okay. Through you, Mr. President, just one more question. Are you able to tell me when the project team became aware that there was this need for this increase in authorization?
Through the President, the final bid for this particular authorization came in on Thursday, a few days ago. The final bid was received on Thursday.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Legislator Hebert.
Airport Authority, what's the ramifications if this body did not pass this bill tonight with the project?
Through the President, the ramifications to the project without this budget authority is we cannot award the bids, which would delay the project.
Are there any implications, through the President, are there any implications for the state funding that's been awarded to the county if we were to delay this project?
Through the President, we would put that state funding at risk because we report to the state on a weekly basis, keep them up to date, and without awarding the particular projects, we would not be reimbursed by the state.
Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator. Is there any other discussion? Legislator Cayley.
President.
I was almost speechless there for a second.
I know. First of all, I'd like to add my name as a second on this, and I would like to just rise and explain my vote. I appreciate my colleague on the other side of the aisle asking some very specific questions. Having the opportunity to serve on the Airport Authority along with Legislator Howland, I find this a very good project moving forward, and I have been very approving of the director's job in running the airport and have been very sensitive to the lack of amount of time with pulling this project off, and I think that we are on the right course. Of course, we are amending a budget that's never going to be lost on me by the procedure here this evening, but I would just like to say that I am in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 20, referral 17-0249BR.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, Legislator Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. We stand adjourned until 6 p.m. Tuesday, October 10th, 2017.
Thank you. Have a good night.